think so.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we're rolling. Ladies and gents, what's happening? Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Bandi Golau, and today I'm at Stafford's premier martial arts school, Active Arts. My guest today is the owner and head instructor, 6th Dan Kempo Jujitsu black belt, as well as high rankings in and experience in other arts like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, sport Jiu-Jitsu, judo, kusho, kickboxing. Any more?
That'll do for now.
So my longtime personal sensei, Richard Tunstall, in the chair with the Barber. Thanks for having us, Rich.
Oh, you're welcome, mate.
So this was an episode that I wanted to do from when I started, because it's always good to have conversations on subjects with people that are very at a very high level, with a lot of knowledge within the fields. And I think, me personally, I know a lot of martial artists, and you've achieved a lot and you've got a lot of experience. Can you give us your background run through and how you got into this? Because unlike a lot of us, you've been raised into this your whole life.
Yeah. I mean, our family, basically, my dad was always a boxer and my mum did judo. And as kids, we got no choice. We had to follow the family footsteps. So started judo and boxing at the age of 6, 7.
Right.
And it just developed. And yeah, it's, by the time we were 14, we found Kempo Jujitsu and fell in love. And yeah, it just from one thing you find something else. So I'll have a go at that. I enjoyed my kickboxing, enjoy this, enjoy that. But never lost my love for Kempo.
Was jiu-jitsu always a part of it, or was it judo first?
Judo first, yeah. Judo, there wasn't jiu-jitsu around here when we started back in that age.
Right.
It was started coming around the 80s. There were more than a couple of clubs, and then when we got into that, and then never looked back. Yeah, it was amazing.
Was it hard to transfer your judo knowledge?
No. Jiu-jitsu back then, the traditional jiu-jitsu, was basically judo with kicks and punches.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And obviously you had a boxing background as well.
Yeah, the boxing. I loved boxing, apart from the skipping.
Right, okay.
Never been a good skipper.
So do you feel like it's always been in you? Do you feel like it was the genes had kind of been passed on for you to love this type of environment?
Yeah, I think definitely it's got to be part of you. You just you can't deal with something that's hurts you, causes a lot of injuries, upsets, unless you love it. So as kids, even when we were doing judo at 6, 7, the fights were fights. You fought for your gradings. The same with boxing. Okay. Stuck in a ring, having another kid punching you in the face. If you didn't enjoy it, you weren't doing it for long.
I think it's funny because I hadn't been doing this long, and I realised there was a time when we were at the other place, and we were all partnered up, and I remember we just all kind of in the motions, and one of the men got slammed into the mat so hard, and he screamed, and then we all turned around, and he was on the floor and he was laughing, and I thought, you've got to be a certain type of person to do this. This isn't for everybody.
Oh no, definitely, yeah.
So, do you think that obviously your parents were vital parts in your progression?
Yeah.
Was there a lot of other people that were like key factors in your development over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the same as anything in life. I suppose you've got to have the right people around you, the right instructors. It's important that you have a respect for them, otherwise you're not going to learn from them. So, I suppose you have to have them lucky factors that you went to the right clubs, met the right people, trained in the right environments that suited you. Otherwise, like everything else, you would have given in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Rich, out of all the arts, why jiu-jitsu? I mean, there's so many arts, but this, And especially what I want to point out is you've been training for how many years now?
In jiu-jitsu?
No,
altogether. So 42.
42 years?
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu, more so Brazilian jiu-jitsu now, it's maybe the most popular art, and it's so well known because of the UFC. But you were doing jiu-jitsu long before it was popular.
Oh, yeah.
Why jiu-jitsu?
We just loved the freedom, the ability to do everything. The judo was quite restrictive, and obviously you couldn't kick and punch. The boxing, that you couldn't kick, you couldn't grapple, and jiu-jitsu had that everything about it. You could do everything. It was the closest thing there was to real fighting.
Yeah, I think it's so. When we're talking actual jiu-jitsu, not the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's so versatile.
Yeah,
and I think that's what appealed to me was we train for real situations and real scenarios, and if you're only capable in one area, you might end up against a guy that's a master at something that you've never seen before.
Yeah. You can be out your depth so easy. There's plenty of videos out there of pro MMA fighters getting battered because they don't know how to handle someone with a stick. It's you've got, if you're doing it for self-defense, you have to look at every possible attack.
Right. What I love about our style is you've taken what is one of the most traditional arts that is still happening now, Aikido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, Ninjutsu, all these arts came from Jiu-Jitsu, and you've taken the traditional side of it. You've kept, there's still traditions within what we do, but you've modernized it to be extremely applicable for real life scenarios now.
Yeah. Again, by being open-minded, training with different people, different styles, taking things from other people, always wanting to learn more. Never satisfied that this is it, I'm happy. No, that's not never going to be me. Putting yourselves in positions where you're not the instructor. So when I go to other clubs and stick the white belt on again and start again, you find so much more out. It's fascinating. It's let go your egos and just enjoy the ride of martial arts.
I think that's definitely an issue for a lot of people, and it's not easy to do, because to be of such a high grade, and then with the high grade comes a certain amount of acknowledgement and respect. Even if you don't know the guy on the mats with a black belt, you'll think a certain way about him.
Yeah.
And if he's not the best and you've watched him for a while, then it's going to change. But to be able to take that black belt off and put a white belt on in somebody else's club is very humbling. Yeah. Do you try and find your weaknesses and expose them so you can improve?
Yeah. In a way, that's what it's about. It's when I first started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, our ground fighting was okay, but theirs is specifically, far more focused on ground fighting. So it was a new world, and although it is a sport primarily, no matter what anyone says, every club you go to, they train it as a sport. You can still learn different concepts from it that you can add to the traditional jiu-jitsu, and it is amazing, and you are still looked at different. People do know in them clubs that I'm a black belt in something else. So in a way, you may be still treated a little bit different, but I get me head torn off by enough people. Yeah. It's humbling, and it's that acknowledgement that we're all human. We can all be beaten. We can all be bested, but it's not about that. It's about beating yourself, bettering yourself.
Yeah, I think that martial arts is very humbling, and what it allows you to do is to be accepted in an environment where you know that you're going to get beat, and everybody else knows that not only are you going to get beat, they're going to get beat as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in a lot of other things, it doesn't seem to have that slap in the face that you need to improve.
Yeah, yeah, and also the same from people who don't go out to their own environments. They stay within their own clubs, their own little safety net, where you know your place.
Yeah.
And okay, that's fine for a certain thing, but if you don't expose yourself to something else, you won't find them weaknesses. You won't stay humble. You will get big-headed. You will think you are better than you are. You know, even training within the same style, just doing it at a different club is eye-opening at times.
I think that one of the problems with people that do martial arts, because there's so many bad martial artists, there's so many people that don't deserve the level of rank that they've got. There's so many people that you'll see in videos on YouTube that they've got some martial arts experience and then they get nailed. And a lot of the time that gives martial arts a bad rep.
Yeah.
But what I feel it is never thinking that you're better than you actually are.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these people who are exposed and for some reason put videos on YouTube, even though, you know, to anybody with an understanding of martial arts, it looks awful. That's just part of everything, you know. It will happen in everything you do. There's bad welders out there, you know. There's bad barbers out there, you know, that actually think they're great, you know. And there's scam artists, you know. Most of them they're just there to make a quick buck. And what can you say about them other than, you know, they're not worth my time to lose sleep over.
Right.
You know.
So are you constantly trying to find where you can better yourself and bring that back to your students? Because I've been training in this club. I started in 2008 and it's 2020, so 12 years. And I've seen your progression in 12 years. Yeah. You know, and you were in your 30s when I met you.
Yeah, yeah.
So where people say, you know, and there's a lot of people that think if you haven't started martial arts as a child, it's too late.
No.
But you're always adapting.
Yeah.
And I've seen the constant progress. It's got to be quite tough to always say to yourself, do you know what? You could work on this and you can work on that.
It is. It's definitely tough. And I think you have to expose yourself the same way as I do when it comes to the fitness classes that we do. I'm there and I do it and I stick myself in there because if people are faster than me and better than me at some, I know I've got to work on them. And don't be afraid that somebody's going to be better than you at Summit. You know, I've got, you know, we're lucky we've got students that we've had now for 20 odd years and some of them are better than me at certain things. Ace. You know, I think that's great that they've overtaken me. You know, it's annoying at times. There's a few people that I look at and think, I wish I could do that like them, but I just can't. I try and I'll keep working at it, but, you know, you can't be the best at everything.
Yeah. Martial arts changes lives. It's changed my life. There's a lot of things that people probably don't expect martial arts to do for you. I think it's well known to an extent, but unless you've personally experienced it, you don't realise how much of an impact it has on you. How do you feel like it's impacted you?
That's a big one. I think without me martial arts, I would definitely nowhere near the sort of person I am now. I wouldn't be as driven. I'd probably be well overweight and, you know, in a pub a lot more often. Maybe enjoying life in a different way a lot more. But no, I think I just look around me at the people that we've got with us and, you know, it makes me feel so proud of what we've achieved as a club. The kids that come here and have achieved great things and the parents that are constantly thanking you for that. You know, it's just what an amazing feeling. To know you've helped people is an amazing feeling, and I can't actually imagine my life without martial arts because it really is my life.
Am I right in saying that you would have been quite reckless if you didn't have the martial arts?
Oh yeah. Most definitely. Yeah, I'd definitely probably gone down the wrong street. I've always been quite rebellious, which is weird when you consider what I teach all the time about respect and honesty. You know, I'm at heart very rebellious, and I don't like following the path as it is. I don't like to be told what to do. I'm not very good with authority. Yeah, as a martial artist, we are meant to be good at all these things. So when I'm in my martial arts zone, which is most of the time, all those click into place. Within my martial arts world, I am respectful. I do follow the ways, you know, and I try to keep them going outside, you know, within my work and everything. But it can be difficult. It's certainly kept me a lot better place in the world than I think I would have gone. Yeah, oh yeah, massively.
What do you think it is about the arts that does that for people? What do you think? Because football or rugby or there's elements of respect and everything else, but what do you think it is about martial arts that is so impactful to everybody that follows it?
It's got to come down to the instructors and you know, the way that they press on the discipline. People are understanding that you can hurt somebody and get hurt, you know, and that isn't really what we do it for. What we do it for is not to get hurt and not to hurt people. And but again, it's the I can't talk that without my teeth in. The humility of it. You just become a better person, definitely, because the understanding that anybody out there could hurt me if they knew any of this, or could hurt me just by getting a lump of wood and smacking me over the head. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's that constant realization that there is always people better than you. There's always people tougher than you. There's always people that you don't expect to be tough that are tough.
Yeah.
And within that, you learn discipline and you learn respect, and you're a lot more self-aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's being self-aware that, you know, is maybe one of the key ingredients to it.
Yeah, you're constantly learning about yourself. You know, you're always under test, really, when you're on the mat. So as a student, you're always being watched and judged, you know, and the same as an instructor. Then you're being watched by more people and judged by more people.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You have to maintain the standards because somebody's always there looking at you. And I think when you get used to just being good, you know, it stays with you for everything you do.
So I love a story, and I was wondering if you could tell us, I know there's many, but if you could tell us one time when you needed to use your martial arts in a real situation.
Yeah, unfortunately there is many. I'm not proud of that fact. But I'd say one of the strangest ones I had was we're in a nightclub in Nottingham. The night had finished and we were on our way home. We had a coach, it was about 30, 40 of us. And some fairly inebriated people, let's say, decided it'd be a good idea to mooney out of the back of the bus at these guys coming out of this other nightclub. And thought nothing of it.
Were you guys all together?
It was a big group from Stoke that went to Nottingham, but we didn't know everybody. So, you know, it was organised by a person, but I probably knew about 20, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so the next thing, these guys are on the bus, coach, and starting to argue and, you know.
These are the guys from outside?
Yeah, the guys that were moonied at. Took a big dislike to this. And so I was sitting there with a girlfriend at the time, was pretty much ignoring it. And then a few raised voices, a couple of scuffles. Next thing, there's fists flying. And went to get up out my seat. This guy pushed me back down, stay there, you know, or your neck sort of thing. And they got this one lad and they were dragging him off down the bus. I thought, oh, no, I'm going to have to do something, you know. So it's the hardest position I've ever had to fight in. So second seat, the seat by the window.
Right.
You know, between seats trying to get up and get yourself out to actually start to intervene. It was tricky, it was tough, and that's where a lot of your movements, a lot of your skills come in to work in these confined areas. And, we got them off the bus. We got a few of them out the emergency exit at the back, sort of dumped straight through the window there. And basically the bus driver was told to speed off, even though there weren't everybody on the coach at the time, while we hung on the rail and tried to stop them coming back on. It was hectic. It was I don't know, it was a bit like being in a movie. It was strange.
I think that one of the things that people may not understand if they've never been in a real scenario is you can never seem to replicate any scenario more than once.
No.
And you never know where it's going to happen. You never know what situation it's going to be in, who's going to be there, and what's going to be by you and everything else. And so as a martial artist, I feel you have to be very, very adapted to the situation that you're in. You can't expect a fight to happen in a back alley with just you and one guy.
Yeah, a nice open area.
Yeah,
flat.
So have you always have the situations that you've been in more times than not been in situations where you thought this isn't the best place to be in?
I would say 90% of the time, yeah. They're usually in confined areas. Most people don't tend to attack you in the middle of a field. It's normally somewhere combined. They followed you into the toilets, in the corridor. It's rare that you've got a lot of room to move, or you're just surrounded by people. It's very, very rare that you've got room and nobody else or nothing else to think about.
Did you expect to go this far? Did you to do martial arts for this long? When you were younger, did you expect that this was how things were going to be?
Not totally. Though, when I was made redundant at about 22, 23, I did say to my manager at the time I was going to open a martial arts school up. And I suppose it had always been in the back of my mind. I'd thought about it, but then it's how you do it, how do you get the funding, have we got enough students, blah, blah, blah. And the time it takes is, it eats your time up. So, although it was always in the back of my mind, it was one of the things that I just kept putting off.
When you got made redundant and you said that you'd open a school, were you talking about opening it then at 22?
Yeah. I'd been teaching for several years already then. We in jiu-jitsu, there was just nobody about. So one of the, people were teaching a year after they'd started learning. It was very different days.
So you felt that you were more than capable at 22 years old?
I felt it at the time, but I'm glad I didn't. I was a different person. I'm glad I've matured a lot more, and I think I've got the right attitude now, whereas I probably didn't have then.
Because as an instructor, as a black belt, even the times within this club when I've taught, there's a lot of pressure on you when you teach.
Oh, huge, yeah. And the pressure can come in so many different ways. For a start, you got everybody watching you. Then you got to remember, if it's a sequenced move, you got to remember all the parts. Which we don't get right 100% of the time, but yeah, that's there. And then you get the awkward questions, and I don't mind people asking questions, I really don't. But some of the questions really, you think, is this a time and place for that? And then you constantly will get, especially from new people, well, this doesn't work. And it's so infuriating, do you mean it doesn't work?
You've been doing it for years, it does work.
Yeah, it's like, well, I've tried, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, many things take more than one or two goes, and that's the same with everything. Nobody got in the car first time, got up and passed the test, with no lessons, no nothing.
Yeah,
it takes time, but it takes a lot of dedication. And, a black belt should be a part of you. It's not something that you wear. It's ingrained into you. You worked at it so much that it's now a part of you. It's not
Right.
something that you just put on to take a class with.
You've got to you've got to carry those principles as a person, I believe.
Yeah, you definitely, and they should have been nailed into you by then, hammered into you through time and time and time again. I mean, I will generally not even consider putting someone towards a black belt. Well, they won't even get that close unless, personally, I think that they've got the right attributes mentally as well as physically. You know?
I think that's probably more of the important thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the mental side of the arts, which is because what I've seen from martial artists and martial arts clubs in the past is some of the people in there of high levels may have the physical ability, but it's the mental side,
Yeah.
it's the personality that makes you think this is probably more toxic than it is helpful.
Yeah. I mean, there is so much of that, and again, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Unfortunately, a lot of martial arts today, it's become a money making thing. You know, it never was, but it certainly now is, and people go into it for the wrong reasons. You know, they go into an art to make money, and although it is my job, I certainly don't make a lot of money from it. You know, and I wouldn't look to be doing that. I like small groups, give people proper instruction, and make a living. That's it.
What do you get out of dedicating your life to teaching other people?
Well, again, as we go through it, it is that thanks. It's that recognition. It's seeing people achieve. We've got a student, which I don't want to name, but he's been with me for over 20 years now. And, you know, this art is now a part of his life. You know, he needs it in his job to a big degree. And every now and then I get feedback where he's used techniques to, you know, restrain people. And it's like, you know, I'm so chuffed that we've given him the confidence, because he really lacked in confidence to be physical with people and to stand up to people, which is now his job. And he has empowered himself and devoted his life, you know, to helping other people. And he's still here, he still comes back, and he passes that on, and his enthusiasm to pass it on to other people, you know, is amazing. And you know, it's just that circle.
I think that going back to what we were saying before, how life-changing the art is for one person alone, for you to have that impact on so many people,
Yeah.
and for so many people to keep coming back over the years, and you've become a key element into so many of our lives growing up, because without you and what you've taught us, we would all be very different people.
Yeah.
Are you constantly aware of that?
I'm reminded of it every now and then, which is nice. And it you know, sometimes it comes at the right time. You're having a bad day, you know, and then you get a message of somebody, you know, thanking you for what you've done, or just somebody ring up. How are you, Sensei? You know, I've been thinking about you. You know, I want to come back. How's things? How's the family? You know, and you know, or somebody who just can't help train anymore because they don't live anywhere near, who just rings up, reminds you that, you know, you helped them out, and they still think of you, and, you know, they enjoy the videos that we put up on Facebook and whatever.
I remember when my brother Laz was just got to high school, and I knew it was going to happen, which is why I started him doing jiu-jitsu before, but he was threatened by one of the year 11s, and I remember coming to the Tuesday session, and I told you what had happened, and you had taken him aside for about half an hour, even though there was so many people in the lesson, and we were teaching everybody else. Mm-hmm. And you took him to the side for half an hour, and you instructed him on how to deal with the few potential ways that this could happen if it happens. Luckily, nothing kicked off with that kid. But what you did was you empowered him to have the confidence to think, if this happens, I've been trained how to deal with this. And I think that it's little things like that that could mentally be the make or break for somebody throughout the years.
Massively. At school years, you know, bullying, anti-bullying campaigns, you know, it doesn't work. Bullies will always be there, you know. But it's been going on forever, and it will go on forever. You know, kids have to empower themselves to deal with it. Telling the teachers and all that lot, fine. If they can deal with it, great. But a lot of the time it's going to be done before the teachers can actually intervene. And children, once they feel bullied, and their whole life changes. You know, the schoolwork, their homework, their home lives, their social lives, everything goes on a down.
Well, they've become the
victim.
They've ended up with a victim mentality.
Yeah.
And a victim mentality will go through your whole life unless there's that switch that changes it.
Yeah.
And to be able to prevent a child from going through that before it happens is the key. And I feel like it should be absolutely necessary for every single child, no matter where, to learn martial arts for these kind of reasons.
Oh, definitely. And really, it has to be, excuse me for saying it, proper martial arts, not sport. Because sport ones will have the impact that somebody is better than somebody else, and then Paul can still use it to bully the other kids. So it has to be the traditional martial arts where, you know, you can't trust whether he's better than anybody else, because we don't get to that stage.
Right. It's about not competing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's interesting. Just one of the final things, and this is probably more of a question maybe for me more so than for all the viewers, but all these years of training, the black belts, the experience, do you ever get scared?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there ever an oh crap moment in your day-to-day situations?
Not really in day-to-day.
Like let's say like a scenario was to kick off and you're out somewhere.
Yeah. I have to look at things very different, especially as you grow older and you've got apparently all these, you know, degrees of self-defense and martial arts. So it's looking at it in a way where, how can I deal with it without actually hurting anybody? You know, I'm not too worried about me getting hurt. It's everybody else. And the problem comes around that you cannot be looked at as the person that wades in. Especially today, where there's cameras everywhere.
Break that down for me.
So, if there's an argument going on 20, 30 years ago, I'd have been bump in the middle trying to separate it. Today, that's a little bit different. You can't just wade into things, because so many times you see that the video will start here now, not then. You know, and all you've got is footage of me going in and grabbing somebody. And you have to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more cautious. Obviously, if it's me being threatened or anybody around me being threatened, I know then that's different. I will just deal with the situation. When it comes to outside people, whereas you still got the same rights within the law to protect people as you have with protecting yourself, you also got to be aware that it can be misconstrued very easily by other people, what you're doing. So I'm not scared of being hurt. I'm scared of being made out to be the bad guy.
Okay, that's interesting. Before we wrap up, what advice would you have given your 18-year-old self?
Oh, wow. So much, mate. So much advice. I'd have definitely, looked at carrying on training more regularly, although it hasn't done me any harm in the long run. I would have definitely worked harder at school, got better degrees, better O levels.
Does that matter?
No, not really. But I think, again, it's that constant self-improvement. And I think when I look back, that was an area I did let myself down. I was intelligent. I flew all my mocks and then thought, oh, this is easy. I don't need to revise. and paid the price. That led me down this path, and you know, at the end of the day, I can't, you know, I'm not unhappy where I am. I think I've become a really good path, and hopefully become a good, well-rounded person. But I'm always about self-improvement, and I think that's one area where, you know, my education, I could have pushed that a bit further, without really, you know, altering where I've ended up. So yeah.
Okay, well, to round it off, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate your time and for opening the doors for us today. Again, I need to say, because it's necessary, what you and the club have provided for me and for my brother, my niece and nephews coming up now. So many people within the club is such a necessary part to all of our lives, because this really does make us into the people that we've become. And I think that every now and again it's necessary to say, and this is probably a good time to say it. And that's not just for me, that's for the whole club, you know. I'll be having a lot of conversations with students of this club when you're not there, you know, and everybody feels the same way. And a big shout out to everybody that we train with, and the parents and the students that I don't know that come here. And what I would say is, everybody should try and maintain training. If you don't train, you should, and especially for the kids, it's so important. And on that note, I want to say thanks again to Sensei Dan Costa, because he brought me to this club. I wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for him. And I believe that one of the best gifts that you can give somebody is the introduction into martial arts.
Oh, yeah.
Because you take it with you forever. And anybody who wants to learn that's in the Staffordshire area, Active Arts is the place. Rich is the man for it. I'll put all the links and the address and all of that in the description. So if you're in the area, come down. And if you just want a good session and you're not from the area, you know, this is a place to come. Guys, you can listen to us on Spotify and iTunes as well, if you're not watching on YouTube. Please share and subscribe if you like it. And thanks for you guys watching. My name's Bandy Golau, Jiu-Jitsu Master Richard Tunstall in the chair with the barber. Guys, thank you. Stay tuned and you'll see me soon. Yeah.